Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Who Works the Rivers Workforce Wednesday, a special event with the Kentucky Chamber Workforce Center's Best to Business program. My name is Harper Smith, and I'm the Senior Manager of the Workforce Center, and I help direct our Best to Business program. Best to Business is a statewide initiative focused on connecting students with employers. The goal of the program is to show students what career pathways are available in their own communities. This special event is in partnership with Who Works the Rivers, which is an initiative of RiverWorks Discovery to foster exploration of the excellent career opportunities available in the maritime industry. Before we begin, I want to thank our sponsors in this effort, Kentucky SHRM and AT&T, for their investment in helping to bring classrooms to careers. And I also want to thank the team at Udemy for their support through this virtual event platform. All of our resources and videos are housed on our website, as well as our Facebook and YouTube streams, as well as this event is being live streamed and will be stored for rewatching on our Facebook and live stream on YouTube as well. So this will also be shared to the RiverWorks Discovery Facebook page. Thank you all for tuning in with us today. We hope you all learned something new. We will be hearing from a panel of maritime employers at the end of the session after we hear from some RiverWorks Discovery informational videos. So I'll go ahead and kick it off with one of those. Thank you.
Hello everyone, Jared McGovern here with the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium and RiverWorks Discovery, coming to you from the banks of the Mississippi River right here in good old Dubuque, Iowa. You are here today participating in a program of RiverWorks Discovery and the National Rivers Hall of Fame, which is part of the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium. This is a national outreach program that is dedicated to teaching and inspiring people about the cultures, commerce, and conservation on America's navigable rivers. Rivers where you're going to be seeing these big boats carrying commodities from all over the world. RiverWorks Discovery is also passionate about careers, and careers that are in conservation, careers that are in commerce, and these careers have a special culture. You were going to have the opportunity to meet some of the people that make America's rivers work. And you are going to learn about different careers that you can get involved in through your high school career and post-high school education. So today, have fun, ask questions, learn something new, meet a new friend, and we hope that you are inspired to become a steward of America's 12,000 miles of navigable waterways, and hopefully, you will find a career today that just might be right for you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Corey Housden with American Commercial Barge Line, and I hope you're ready to learn a little bit or even a lot about the maritime transportation industry. Since we'll be covering a lot of ground, I want to encourage you to write down any questions that you may have, and we will have a panel of industry employees at the end of this segment that will be happy to answer any questions that you have. Coming up first, we have Dr. Terrance James from Vicksburg Warren School District, and he's going to talk to you about how the maritime industry just might be the right choice for you.
Located in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Hello, students across the nation. I am Terrance James, the Career and Technical Administrator with Vicksburg Warren School District, located in Vicksburg, Mississippi. You may be asking yourself, why am I here listening to a recording about RiverWorks Discovery? Well, I have an answer for you. Because you will need a job in the future to take care of yourself, your parents, your spouse, and your children. You may even have to take care of your annoying siblings who constantly nag you all the time. In order to do so, you will need a good paying job that can support your family needs, and the RiverWorks Discovery outreach is here to help you. Some of you are already preparing yourself for future careers where you can gain employment with the river industry. If you are taking career and technical education courses or vocational courses such as welding, auto mechanics, culinary arts, marketing, engineering, and more, the river industry provides career opportunities for you. Regardless if you decide to stop your schooling at the end of your high school, community college, or college years, there are all types of careers for you, such as accountants, lawyers, human resources, journalists, forklift operators, electricians, and more. The industry also offers opportunities with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Coast Guard, Navy, and other federal agencies. The river offers a vast array of career opportunities for everyone, and we will dive in depth later. You will constantly be working through new and interesting challenges, whether you are on a boat, dock, driving a crane, or inspecting a vessel for safety. Each day brings new and interesting challenges. No 2 days are the same. You will not be bored with these careers. Who wants to have a career where every day is the same? I don't. The river and inland transportation industry wants to develop your career. If you put forth a good effort, in 4 to 6 years, the companies represented here today will provide the training and certifications you need to make anywhere from $50,000 to $150,000 a year. $150,000 a year. That's more than my wife and I make together. I can support my family and your family with that amount of money. Think about all the dreams you have about going to Disneyland, buying a new car, buying your parents a new house, or even traveling the world. You could live your dreams and somebody else's dreams. Does this get your attention? Great. We want to help you invest in yourself. This industry provides opportunities that will afford you and your family a great life. Take a look around. Don't you want to do better? Well, I'm glad you do. Today, you will learn a lot. First, you will learn about the importance of waterborne transportation. Why do we need to be able to transport products up and down a river? Then we could transport goods by railroad or 18-wheelers. Stay tuned and we'll learn together. Secondly, you will learn about the importance of rivers. Why do we need rivers to survive? Thirdly, you will learn about the diversity of careers. There are all types of careers that men and women have an opportunity to pursue. Ladies, this is for you too. Lastly, you will learn about career paths on the river. All right, let's get started.
Well, thanks, Dr. T. Isn't it amazing that no matter where you live, you can still land a maritime job that can give you endless possibilities? I myself started a career as a deckhand and was taken back by the size of the barges and the tremendous amount of tonnage they can hold. And it still confuses me today how they can float those heavy cargoes. And unlike land-based modes of transportation, boats, barges, and ships can seem out of sight and out of mind. So you'll actually be surprised at how many people the industry employs. Up next, we're going to watch a video featuring Vanessa Breslin from Canal Barge Company. And she is going to give us an in-depth look into some interesting facts and figures surrounding the maritime industry.
My name is Vanessa Breslin, and I work with Canal Barge Company. Today, I'm going to discuss a couple of slides on the RiverWorks Discovery presentation. First, start with some of the industry facts. The tugboat, towboat, and barge industry is the largest segment of the U.S. domestic maritime industry. So what does that mean? It employs more than 33,000 American mariners aboard its vessels. The nation's domestic maritime industry is an economic engine and job creator. This is all the shoreside and support jobs working to keep the boats working. 500,000 jobs and $100 billion in economic input. The single largest commodity that moves on the U.S. waterways is petroleum. 244 million tons is moved annually. Water transportation plays a critical role in facilitating the nation's trade. 60% of U.S. grain exports and 20% of U.S. coal. Efficient, economical, and environmental transportation. Barge transportation of goods is the single most efficient, economic, and environmental choice for transporting freight. 1 gallon of fuel can move 1 ton of cargo farther than any other mode of transportation. 1 gallon of fuel equals 647 ton miles. Rail, 1 gallon of fuel equals 477 ton miles. And truck, 1 gallon of fuel equals 145 ton miles. So how much cargo can a boat move? Boats can push very large groups of barges called tows. A typical tow size for a boat moving in a single area is around 15 barges. How much cargo is in 15 barges? Anyone want to take a guess? So 15 barge tow equals 240 rail cars, which is the same as 1,050 trucks. A 25 barge tow equals 400 rail cars, which is the same as 1,750 trucks. Fun fact, One ship holds approximately 55 barges worth of cargo. So one barge equals 16 rail cars, which equals 70 trucks. 55 barges equals 880 rail cars, which equals 3,850 trucks. If you lined up these trucks, they would be 204,050 feet long, or 38.5 miles long. Think about how long you'd have to wait for a train that size to go by. What about the traffic that all those trucks on the road would create? World seaborne trade. So globally, 10.7 billion tons of goods are shipped on oceans, river, lakes, and canals each year. So let's blow your mind. How do you picture 10.7 billion tons? 1,813 Great Pyramids of Giza, 32,326 Empire State Buildings, 434,959 Statues of Liberty, 68,589,743 average U.S. households, or 6,476,997,578 cars. It's a lot. Commodities. This list of cargoes is a snapshot of what can be moved on the waterways. Everything from coal to corn likely originated on a ship or barge before coming to your local Walmart or being used to build your car. Diversified cargo mix. Here are a few pictures of what these cargoes look like when they are in their shipping form. These cargoes, sometimes called commodities, are the ingredients for the products we use in our everyday lives. Using the raw cargo and changing it into a useful product is what powers the construction, automotive, technology, energy, and agricultural industries of the United States and the world. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
I hope you were just as amazed as I was when I first saw these numbers. So I want you to take a look at the world around you right now. I'm sure you're seeing ceiling lights, a laptop computer, or even a dry erase board. Have you ever wondered where the materials these items are made of comes from? In this next video, Namdi Ezra from Associated Terminals is going to explain how everyday items, including the chair you're sitting in right now, was most likely transported by river or sea.
Hi, my name is Namdi Ezra, and I'm a business analyst here at Associated Terminals. Now, you guys have learned a lot of cool stuff today. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about global shipping. The maritime transport is the backbone of global trade and the global economy. The international shipping industry is responsible for the transport of around 90% of world trade. Without shipping, the bulk transport of raw materials and the import and export of affordable food, manufactured goods, and other products would not be possible. No country is entirely self-sufficient, and every country relies on maritime trade to sell what it makes and to buy what it needs. Much of what we use or consume in our everyday lives either has been or will be transported by sea in the form of raw materials, components, or finished articles. Over 10.7 billion tons of cargo are imported and exported annually via ocean vessels worldwide. This map shows many of the ports that are important for global trade and the maritime industry. The Cape of Good Hope in South Africa, for example, is the central point of transport between Asia and Europe. So many of the cargoes and goods that go from Asia or to Asia from Europe have to pass through the Cape of Good Hope. For the Panama Canal in Central America, of all the cargoes that travel through there, 62% of that either originated from the US or will be transported to the US. There are over 55,000 merchant ships
trading internationally, transporting every kind of cargo. The world fleet is registered in over 150 nations. On average, a container ship travels a distance equivalent of 75% of the way to the moon and back, and that's in a single year. The world's largest container ships can carry a staggering amount of cargo. A modern container ship, for example, can hold up to 745 million bananas. To put that in perspective, that's roughly one banana for every person in Europe and North America. Let's talk about the transportation of goods. An import or export will be transported from its point of origin via rail, truck, or barge to a port where it will be loaded onto an ocean-going vessel. The ocean-going vessel will follow established maritime shipping routes. The ship will travel to a port which is near the final destination for the product, where it will then be transported via rail, truck, or barge. In the US, 500 million tons are either imported or exported through the Mississippi River. And for the country, there are over 3 billion tons that will be imported or exported via ocean-going vessels. Now we're going to talk a little bit about one of my favorite things in the world, ice cream, and specifically Ben & Jerry's ice cream.
Isn't that crazy to think that normal day-to-day items could have traveled these vast waters? What do you say, let's follow along on the journey of how a 16-ounce tub of Ben & Jerry's ice cream makes it to your local grocery store freezer.
All right, let's talk about one of my favorite things in the whole world, ice cream. Specifically, Ben & Jerry's. My favorite flavor has to be Chunky Monkey, right? Like, is there even any other flavor? What about you? What's your favorite flavor? So when you get to the ice cream aisle and you're looking for some Ben & Jerry's ice cream, have you ever asked yourself, where do all the ingredients to give me this pint of ice cream come from? Well, let's do a quick little research project. Ben & Jerry's produces ice cream in several different countries, such as Israel and the Netherlands. Their first factory and their main factory is the one in Vermont. But they get their ingredients from all over the world. And those little ingredients have to be imported by ocean-going vessels or by truck or rail to their factory in Vermont. Let's start from the outside and work our way in. What about the paper that makes the pint? Where do you think that paper comes from? Would you be surprised if I told you it came from Canada and it has to be transported by truck or rail to their Vermont factory? What about the coffee-flavored ice creams? Where do you think the coffee and that raw material comes from? Or if I told you it had to be transported by ship from Mexico up to the New York port and then by truck to their Vermont factory? What about the sugar that's in that ice cream that gives it that sweet, sweet flavor? Where do you think that came from? Well, that came from Belize and had to travel through the Panama Canal to the New York port and then be transported to the Vermont factory. Same thing with the bananas. Where do you think those bananas came from? Well, those were imported from Ecuador. And the list goes on. What about the vanilla flavor that's in so many different ice creams? Where do you think the raw vanilla came from? And how do you think it got to their Vermont factory? Well, that had to be imported from Madagascar and Uganda and likely traveled through the port of Cape Hope on its way to the New York port to then be transported to their Vermont factory. What about the milk? The most important ingredient in making ice cream. Where do you think they got their milk from? Likely, some of it was made here in the US and had to be transported to Vermont via truck or rail. But some of it was also transported from the Netherlands and had to be transported by ships from Europe to New York and then by truck to their Vermont factory. So you see, even the simplest things that we find in our grocery stores come from all over the world. And maritime just plays a very key role in our everyday lives. I hope you enjoy the rest of this presentation and that you've learned so much today.
Well, I'll have to admit that made me a little bit hungry. Up next, we will have Holly Norman from Ingram Barge Company give you some insight on all the moving parts that logistically go into transporting some of the world's resources via ship and rail and barge and keep a healthy global economy.
Hi, I'm here to talk about global transportation and logistics. It is a big job making all of these cargoes and commodities get loaded in the proper place and order. Logistics is a career that manages the movement of the supply chain. An example of how products might move from China to the United States is illustrated here. It all starts in the overseas ports. Here, products are gathered from factories and farmlands and put into container or bulk hold tanks and ships. Then the ships move the products, following established shipping routes to destinations across the globe. Once the ship has arrived at its destination port, cranes and digging ladders are used to move the products from the ship into the barges or other holding facilities. Cargoes such as tennis shoes and household goods are often transported in containers. The product is then transported via barge, rail, or truck to other locations for processing or distribution to be consumed by the public. For example, tennis shoes might travel via truck to the Walmart distribution center, and steel may travel by rail to an automotive plant to make a Ford car. So let's talk about products that originate in the US. The process is the reverse cycle of our tennis shoe example. Cargoes such as soybean, corn, or wheat are products that are produced in the United States. These cargoes travel via barge, rail, or truck. Cargoes that travel by barge utilize the inland waterway system to get to points where they can be loaded to ocean vessels to be distributed all over the world. Now let's talk about the global importance of shipping. In many cases, a country will specialize in a certain manufacturing process or agricultural product, focusing their efforts into creating that one product. This specialization enables global trade. Instead of each country trying to grow and manufacture everything they need, countries will focus on what they do best and buy the other items they need from other countries. This is what it means when you hear people talk about the global economy. Each country is dependent on the global economy to get all of the things that they need to move forward in our modern world. Shipping enables global economy. Without ships, barges, trains, and trucks, humans would not be able to share products from one country to another.
Thanks, Holly. As you can see, the shipping industry is a very well-oiled machine. Up next, let's bring back the charismatic Jared McGovern to show you how watersheds could have us all connected no matter where we are on the map.
Hello again, everyone. Jared McGovern here with the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium, coming to you in front of a different map in the same location, but as you may have noticed, a different time. My hair's a little longer, my beard's a little bit more fluffy, but the message that I want to share with you is similar. Now, in that introduction, we had mentioned that there are 12,000 navigable miles of river in the United States of America. And what I'm asking you to do right now is I want you to pull up a map or pull out a map and reflect on where you are within a watershed, which river you are closest to, where the water from your home flows, where that river flows, and where that river flows, and ultimately where that river ends. Now me, I'm here in Dubuque, Iowa, on the shores of the Mississippi River. And if you look at this map right here behind me, to the left is Minnesota, to the north. to the right is Louisiana to the south. And you can see all 10 states that the Mississippi River comes in contact with. Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Now, even though it directly touches 10 states, the Mississippi River has a watershed that makes up about 31 states and parts of 2 Canadian provinces. You may live in the Mississippi River's watershed, but even if you don't, there are navigable rivers near you on both coasts and along the Gulf of Mexico, on the Atlantic, Pacific, and Gulf of Mexico shores. So reflect, pull up a map, pull out a map, and identify which watershed and which rivers connect us all. Thank you, and enjoy the remainder of your day.
Up next, we're going to bring back Holly Norman from Ingram Barge Company to show us the many different careers in the maritime industry.
Careers. You all have a great opportunity here. Please pay attention while we learn about the exciting career opportunities in the marine industry. To our instructors who are leading this presentation, please take the time to click on the buttons to learn about all of the positions and pay scale associated with careers in our industry. Now, let's get started. The first step is finishing high school. That diploma is your ticket to success, and it is a big deal. I want to encourage all of you to take advantage of every opportunity. Positions and pay scale associated with careers in our industry. Now, let's get started. The first step is finishing high school. That diploma is your ticket to success, and it is a big deal. I want to encourage all of you to take advantage of every opportunity.
It looks like the video is stuck. We might want to move ahead. Corey, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. All right, so coming up next, we're going to hear from Michael Breslin from Term Services. Michael has had many different jobs in the industry, and he will be talking to you about the continuing education programs that most maritime companies provide.
Hi, I'm Mike Breson. I've had the opportunity to work in many different positions since I joined the maritime industry. From the deck to the shipyard, and many places in between, this industry has a great host of jobs to offer, as you've just learned. These career options, of course, require a skill set and knowledge base, which brings me to the topic I'm going to talk to you about today, what we call River University. What do I mean by River University? The River University is the continuing education that maritime companies offer employees to help them grow from an entry position to the manager of $1 million plus vessel. You already know that you can begin your career with us fresh out of high school. We can offer this to you because of the great certification programs we make available to you as you gain experience. We provide the education you will need to progress at no cost to you. In fact, we pay you to grow and learn. When you start, it's like being a freshman again. As you grow, think of it like moving into sophomore, junior, and senior year. It takes 4 to 6 years to get to the top in our industry. And here's how you can do it. Entry-level training. This is the foundation that you need to understand our industry. It all starts with orientation. Once you've accepted a job offer, the company will schedule you for orientation. This training is not limited to watching a few videos in the Human Resources Department. Sure, that's part of it, but you will also get hands-on experience and face time with veterans and experienced teachers in the maritime industry. Orientation for a deckhand will include instruction in how to build tow, basic diesel mechanics, using tools of the trade, the basics of navigation, personal protective equipment, navigation and communication equipment, and the basics of life on a boat. Does this sound familiar to you from something you heard earlier today? Well, this is a list of duties that you are responsible for as a deckhand. We train you how to do all aspects of your job. We invest in your future because if we hire you, we believe in you. Let's talk about safety and security training, another important aspect of our industry. Does anyone know how national security provides job security for the mariner? Well, think about all the military jobs we talked about earlier. The Coast Guard exists to protect our borders and the commerce that takes place on our rivers and their tributaries. It's not just the military's job to protect us, though. You are going to be on the front line of our defense system when you join the maritime industry. Your TWIC card establishes your place as a transportation worker. Because of laws and regulations, including the TWIC program, all but a very small few of mariners must be United States citizens. This provides job security that may not be afforded in other industries, such as construction or plant work. You'll be trained to identify threats and protect your vessel and facility. As a team, you ensure that your hometown and place of business remains safe from the threat of terrorism. In addition to security training, our industry takes the lead in safety training. Every single action you take at work should be safe. We make it our mission as an industry to provide the most up-to-date and forward-thinking safety training available. Your safety instruction will include training in subjects including drugs and alcohol regulations. Don't do drugs, like for realsies, no bamboozles. First aid and CPR. You'll likely receive a certification from the Red Cross or American Heart Association. Electrical and fire safety, using a fire hose and preventing fires. Hazardous communications. This is chemical safety and dealing with chemicals in the workplace. Crane and industrial truck safety. You'll be working with industrial trucks, things like bobcats and forklifts, and also massive cranes. Security officer training. This is an advanced class offered to the leaders at facilities or on vessels who provide security. Water survival, just in case. Emergency response. From hurricanes to oil spills, we'll be sure you are ready to tackle any workplace emergency with sure and quick response. Of course, each job is different. We provide specialized skill training to ensure you are an expert in your field. Here's where we get to licensing and credentialing. Piloting a towboat is similar in requirements to piloting an airplane. You'll even use some of the same software. You'll go through simulator training, U.S. Coast Guard approved courses at maritime colleges, pilot development programs on the job, and lots of evaluation by inspectors and designated examiners to be sure you are qualified to be the master of a vessel. This credential makes you a merchant marine, considered its own branch of service, like Army, Navy, Space Force. Crane operation, it's another certification course. It's not just levers and pedals in those big cranes. They are run by computers and highly skilled personnel. Training to operate the largest material moving devices in the world requires dedication and lots of training, all paid for by your employer. Computer programming. Companies don't just buy off-the-shelf software anymore. We design our own programs in-house, developed by our own IT departments. Joining one of these IT teams might involve writing code, or maybe you will be designing robots or testing remote operation software. As we grow, we need young, sharp minds like yours to help us develop and maintain the most innovative and efficient systems in the world. Logistics coordination. The brain of our organizations is the logistics department. Logistics controls every movement, every schedule, staging, and arrangement of ships, boats, barges, and equipment. The logistics department will have remote access to boats and facilities. They'll track live movements using GPS and AIS. They'll communicate with our customers, negotiate contract rates, and generally run the day-to-day operations of our companies. If logistics is the brain, operations is the muscles. Operations managers are the people involved in being sure we have the best employees and the best equipment working in the right place at the right time. They put the big boats on the big tows, the medium crane on the medium ship, and the small bobcat on the small load job. This is an oversimplification for sure, but being in operations management means you are now the person making decisions about how the company will conduct its business. Talk about responsibility. Safety inspectors. These are people that are in place to do the most important job, keeping our employees and environment safe. Safety inspectors split time between the office and the field. If you like problem solving, are good working with people, and you are willing to apply your knowledge to keeping the company safe, this might be for you. Make no mistake about it, if we cut corners or do unsafe actions, we will not be successful. No one wants you to be hurt, and no one wants to damage equipment or the environment. It's a safety inspector's duty to be sure we act in a way that preserves our safety-forward attitude. Surveying is another important part of every marine transfer operation. Surveyors have similar duties as clerks with the additional responsibility of examining ships, barges, structures, and equipment for damage or other issues. Surveyors oversee transfers to be sure the customer receives the amount of product they purchased and that the equipment, like the crane or the boat, are not damaged while moving the product. Welders. Welding is not an easy task. To keep a 400-ton boat floating in the water, that takes a specialized knowledge of welding. It's a challenge charged to our welders each day. The average grain barge weighs 300 tons. That's 600,000 pounds of steel. You can imagine that welding these vessels is a task only a skilled and well-trained person can accomplish. That's a lot of training we just talked about. But as I mentioned before, this is all paid for by your company. Let's think about what that means. If you come to us after receiving your high school diploma and invest 4 to 6 years into your career, you will be trained to qualify for a position that pays nearly $100,000 with no debt. So to talk more about money, let's give it over to the next speaker.
Some of the in-house training that most companies provide can open many doors for someone wanting to move up the ladder. And as Mike B mentioned, they'll definitely pay you to train. So let's bring back Mike Breslin once more to give us a deeper dive into just how a person can progress through the different careers in the maritime industry.
Hi, I'm Mike Breslin, and I'm here to talk to you about the different jobs the maritime industry offers and the way you can progress through your career. We talked a lot about deckhands, so let's start there with an example of a progression timeline from the deck to wherever you want to go. Deckhand is the entry-level position on a vessel or a crane. No work experience is required, only a good work ethic and a willingness to learn. Your company will provide you with the knowledge and skills and also pay your salary while you learn. Once you've earned your stripes as a deckhand, you may pursue many different paths to advance your career. I'll give you an overview of some of these opportunities. On the vessel side, you might move from deckhand into a tankerman position. Tankerman has to have at least 6 months of sea time, and it's a U.S. Coast Guard licensed position. You get that license and it qualifies and authorizes you to unload liquid cargoes like fuel or molasses. Your company will often pay you to attend a U.S. Coast Guard certified training program and cover the costs of travel and food. If your aim is to go into the wheelhouse, your next step will be getting your apprentice mate license and working under an experienced captain as a steersman. You will need more sea time to move into this position. Once you have that sea time, you can move into an apprentice mate program that your company runs to train its future captains. Although the training is challenging, your company will provide you with the resources required to accomplish your goal. You will hold watch right beside a fully licensed captain. This is required for the steersman's program, and you will not be allowed to hold your own watch until you progress to pilot. A pilot holds a higher license than a steersman. It's issued by the Coast Guard after you finish your training in the steersman's program that your company provided. As a mate pilot of a towing vessel, you're certified to navigate on the rivers and canals of the United States. You can hold your own watch now, meaning that you don't need to have another captain right by your side. However, an experienced captain will be on the vessel with you during this period, so you can call for help if needed. You'll have more managerial tasks added to your responsibilities in this position as well, preparing you to become a fully licensed captain, which is known as a master. The entry-level job for stevedoring is also deckhand. You're going to be working to support the crane operator who's on top of a giant crane on top of a giant barge. These aren't just simple cranes. They use the most cutting-edge technology to make sure they move cargo efficiently and safely. Without the support of his team, though, that crane operator wouldn't be able to do his job. So being on the deck is a very important position. You're going to be responsible for assisting and preparing the barges that are coming onto the crane for loading or unloading. This may include working with ropes and wires to secure the barges, doing maintenance work, and cover handling. Another entry-level job is a flagger. Flaggers work as a signalman, communicating between those in the barge and the crane operator. Using a set of designated signals, the flagger directs the movement of the crane to get the cargo safely into the hold. As you gain more experience, you may move into other roles, such as equipment operator, driving industrial trucks like a forklift or a bobcat. A draftsman, responsible for measuring how much is being loaded into each barge, or an oiler, leading the deck crew in maintenance tasks and controlling the movement of barges to and from the crane barge. Beyond the deck, you can rise to the position of a crane operator or ship superintendent, and both of those positions have a healthy benefits package. I hope that you've learned something about the different positions available in the maritime industry, and I look forward to seeing you on the water.
With just a little initiative, a person can go from deckhand to captain in just a matter of years. Up next, we have a final video featuring myself that will give you some tips on getting and keeping the job.
If you've decided on a job or even a career that strikes your interest, and you're wondering what to do next, well, let's talk about how to land and keep the job. Today, we're going to go over what to do in preparation, tips that will help you in the interview process, and if you do get hired, you'll need to know how to keep the job. Preparation. First off, you want to assume that you'll be tested for any drugs and alcohol that might be in your system. I strongly suggest that you start practicing for this test way before you fill out the application. Once you're ready to apply, be sure to fill out the entire application. Doing so will show that you have a thorough interest in the job, and it won't make you seem like a slacker. Most companies these days are very reliant on using one's email address to communicate and share documents through. So be sure to use a basic email address using your name or initials. Almost all applications are going to ask you for prior job experience, but what do you do if this is your first job ever? No worries. Everyone has to start somewhere, and don't be afraid to list things like clubs, team sports, or any groups you've been a part of. Even babysitting and volunteer work can be considered as experience. Another thing applications will ask for is references. You want to make sure that your references know that someone may be contacting them. If possible, it's good to use a coworker or a previous supervisor as a reference because they are able to comment on your work ethic as well as your character. Now, if you do all of these things we just mentioned, you just might receive a phone call from the employer. That being said, you want to make sure that you answer the phone as if you're getting the job.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, don't do that. Also, you want to make sure that you state your name in your voicemail message. It's super frustrating when a recruiter doesn't know who they're leaving the message for.
No one is available to take your call. Please leave a message.
Lastly, clean up all of your social media. After all, it is called social media. So if you're publicly making derogatory comments, post, or uploading provocative photos, don't think for a second that a person that's recruiting you can't or won't look in this direction. Now, let's talk about interviewing. Interviewing in itself can be a very unnerving experience. I mean, you're literally there to have a panel of strangers ask you a barrage of questions and make a judgment call from your responses. This could be terrifying. So here are a few tips that will help you be mentally prepared and be able to carry yourself as someone that will make a great addition to their team. First, you want to make sure to get a good night's rest. There's nothing worse than being groggy and uncomfortable while being interviewed. That being said, you also want to wake up at a decent hour and give your mind some time to get ready. Employers really appreciate when a candidate knows a little bit about the company and the position. So take a little time to do some research, and this will help you in the long run. So you've got your rest, you've done your research, and you're ready to answer any question they throw at you. Well, not so fast. Interviewers aren't rating you by your responses only. Your appearance and your body language is a large factor in their decision making. Now, you don't necessarily need to show up in a suit and tie, but you don't want to show up like you just barely gotten out of bed. Khakis and a polo or business casual will work just fine. Nowadays, with everything going virtual, you may do an interview via video chat, but most interviews will be done in person. If you were doing an in-person interview, make sure to shake hands using a firm grip and shake hands with everyone in the room, beginning with the person nearest you. You want to make eye contact, smile, sit upright, and answer all questions in complete sentences and answer them truthfully. Once the interview is done, ask questions. By asking questions, it shows you have a true interest in the position, and most employers love talking about what they do. While most of these tips apply, here are some things that are good to know that will help you with a virtual interview. You want to make sure that you're seated in a quiet area, and if you're using a phone or a laptop for the interview, don't try to hold it in your hand. Set the phone or laptop on a sturdy surface to prevent any shakiness. Since you're on camera, in your own environment, make sure that you have a decent background in place. If your background looks like you're hosting a party, that may not go over too well. Lastly, don't hesitate to send a thank you note to your interviewers, letting them know you appreciate their time. Now, some tips on keeping the job. First up, safety. It's extremely important to remain safe while at the workplace and to wear your personal protective equipment, or PPE. It can save your life. Secondly, be on time. Most of the jobs in the maritime industry run 24/7, and you may have a direct relief that's depending on you. Just as you want your relief to show up on time, you need to do the same for the person you're relieving. Whether working on a vessel in tight quarters or in a cubicle in an office building, you always want to treat people the way you want to be treated. And keep in mind that if you do change departments or transfer boats, every manager leads differently. So be agile and accept the change as it comes your way. One of the biggest tips in this segment is communication. Communicating with your coworkers and managers is key to keeping your job. Always let them know of any issues you may have or any safety concerns that you run across. If you do want to work on a vessel, remember that you will be living where you work. So keep the place neat and tidy, including your personal areas, common areas, and bathrooms. Listen, scrubbing toilets isn't the best job, but I can guarantee that your captain had to do it when he or she first started. As we said earlier, drug testing will happen when you get employed, but for most safety-sensitive positions, you will get randomly tested as well. And if you were to fail a drug test, you'll never be able to work at a DOT-compliant company, ever. Last but not least, be a sponge. Learn, ask questions, and always be open to improvement. Thank you, and happy job hunting.
Thank you, Corey, for that great overview of how to get the job and land the job and keep the job. That was great information to share with us. We're going to bring up our industry experts next. They're going to be here on the screen with me, and we are going to be answering questions. So if you have any questions, if you guys are watching from a classroom, feel free to put those in the chat, and we will have these experts here to answer questions about the industry and about working in the industry. So we appreciate you guys being with us today. I'm Brittany Dawson with the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. We're going to do a really quick intro of everybody on the screen. I'm going to go around and call you guys by name so we can do just where you work, what your position is in the industry, and maybe how long you've worked in the maritime and barge industry. And I know, Aaron, you're right next to me, so you go first. You're muted. I did the same thing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Howard with RiverWorks Discovery. I direct the program, and what we do is we bring companies together from around the country to help inform you guys about the job opportunities that all these businesses have. We work with about 150 different companies, and what's really unique about what I do, I get to work with people of all levels within the companies, and I work with entry level all the way up to VPs and presidents and CEOs. And many of the people at the top level got their start at an entry-level position in this industry. So this is an industry where you can climb the ladder, get on-the-job experience provided, have help and mentorship along the way. And I really love everybody that I get to work with. It's definitely a family. And so you will, you can find a second home here in this industry.
Awesome. Thank you. Corey, we've seen you today, but if you wouldn't mind to unmute and just tell us a little bit about what you do and what company you're with.
I'm Corey Housden. I work for American Commercial Barge Line. I started out on the vessels, but I've moved my way up to headquarters, and I work in the training department as of now, and I've been with the company almost 15 years.
Awesome. Thank you. Valerie, if you would unmute and give us a little of your information.
Hey, everybody. I'm Valerie Caulfield with Marquette Transportation. We have 3 different divisions, one here in Paducah, Kentucky, one in New Orleans, Louisiana, and one in Lockport. We have over 120 line haul vessels, and I am the director of deck personnel, and I've been with the company just a little over 13 years.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Katie, I see you next. If you could unmute and give us your background.
Sure. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. My name is Katie Cronin. I work with Ingram Barge. I'm an HR business partner here, so human resources business partner. I've been with Ingram for almost 2.5 years. I was with Marquette Transportation before this in HR as well. As an HR business partner, I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I help out recruiting sometimes and am involved in the new hire process when it applies to shoreside folks for me, so those who work on land. I deal a lot with associate relations, implementing policy, procedure changes, being a big support for leadership in the company. So kind of hop around to all parts of HR. That's what I do here at Ingram.
Awesome. Thank you. Taylor, I see you unmuted already. If you wouldn't mind to give us your background.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Taylor Chandler. I work here at Ingram Barge Company. I've been here a little over 3 years. Ingram, we are the leading carrier on the inland waterways. We operate a fleet of approximately 140 towboats, 5,000 barges that transports anything from aggregates, grain, fertilizer, coal, and steel products. Here at Ingram, I'm in talent management, specifically recruiting for deck crew and production. So for those who are familiar with the Columbus facility and the Metropolis facility, those are our repair facilities. I recruit for the welders for those areas.
Awesome. Thank you. Chad, you're up next. If you would unmute for us.
Yes, thank you, Brittany, and good afternoon, all. I actually work for the federal government, and I am a Inland Waterways Gateway Director, which basically means I support the inland industry as far as ports are concerned, as far as infrastructure is concerned, presenting grants to the industry to help build the industry, and also to create jobs in the industry. So happy to be here. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And Randy, I see you next.
Hey, how are y'all today? I'm Randy Bowling with Crounce Corporation. I'm a port captain here. I've been with Crounce 35 years. I've been in the industry 37 years. So I'm the elder statesman of the group here. And but I wear a lot of hats here. I do help try to recruit people, manage. I actually manage 11 vessels in our division here in Paducah. And going back to piggyback on what was said earlier, I did start cleaning toilets when I started. So I've been at the bottom. I know what it takes to get to the top.
I was going to ask you, what was your first job in the industry, but you checked that box already. So
yes,
all the years of experience there.
Yep. I started as a deckhand and
awesome.
went to pilot, then captain, then I moved shoreside here about 9 years ago. So I've been through about every aspect you could go through.
Sounds like it. Thank you. And then Amanda, you're up next.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amanda Rusnak. I am a recruiting and training coordinator with Illinois Marine Towing. IMT is actually a wholly owned subsidiary of Canal Barge Company based out of New Orleans. So I do all the recruiting, onboarding, training for our northern operations. Not only do we have the largest fleet of harbor and towing vessels here from Shanahan to South Chicago, but we have a chemical terminal as well in Shanahan, where we have terminal operators. And then I'm also recruiting for our shipyard laborers, where we have welders, mechanics, dry and liquid barge cleaners, as well as our vessel personnel.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Thanks. First question for everybody, and you can just jump in as you'd like or raise your hand and I'll call on you. I would love to know how each of you all got into the industry. How did you find out about the maritime industry overall? Was it a family connection or word of mouth? I live in Kentucky. I live in Bowling Green, so I'm a little bit outside of Paducah. And honestly, until I started in workforce, I didn't know anything about the maritime industry. So I've learned a lot in the past 2.5 years. But I would love to hear how you guys got into your careers.
I can take that one. Brittany, it's Katie at Ingram. This is a family industry for me. So both of my parents actually worked with Randy at Crounce Corporation.
Oh, cool.
My mom retired after 30 years. She worked in accounting there. And then my dad still works. He's a captain on a towboat on the Eleanor. So Randy's real familiar with me and my family, but it's been a family thing for us. And I didn't graduate really with anything that applies to my job now. I went to college for communications and marketing, took one HR class, worked in sales after college, and then started with Marquette Transportation just because I knew my family had been in the industry, and I knew it was really successful for me and my family, and provided me and my sister with a wonderful upbringing in life. So I started working at Marquette, actually as a receptionist, and moved into sales for very briefly, and then have been in HR basically my whole time in the industry. So it was a family thing for me, but also growing up around Paducah, in and around Paducah, you're usually pretty familiar with the river industry and towboats, barges, at least somewhat, I would think.
Sure. Thank you for that. Anybody else have a cool way they got into the industry?
I do. Go ahead.
So I've been with IMT for about 4 years now, and I was not familiar with the industry when I joined the company. It's not very well known here up in the north, so we try to do as much outreach as possible to make everybody. It's kind of like the hidden gem here up in Chicago. Knows there's a river, but nobody really looks down off the bridges when they're driving over them. So.
It's kind of that way for me too. Like, oh, we have a river in Kentucky. I learned something today. So yeah. Corey, you were going to speak up, I think.
I was.
Was it Chad?
Randy.
Oh, Randy. Yeah.
Well, I got started. I lived in a little small community where probably 70% of the males in the community worked on the river. And, so I knew a lot about it at an early age. I had a brother-in-law, I had two brother-in-laws and a brother that worked out on the river. But I had, in my life, I said, well, I'm not going to go work on the river. I'm going to go to college. I want to grow up and I want to be a teacher. I love coaching kids, and I was going to be a coach. And so that's my career path, where it started. Then I got to thinking about my brother-in-law and my brother, and what kind of vehicles they had, and the cars they drove, and the houses they lived in. And I'd look out the parking lot at the teachers, what kind of vehicles they were driving up in. I was thinking, something's not right here. So anyway, I did try college for a little while, and then I decided that I was going to come out on a boat, make me some money, and continue my education. Well, when I came out and got on the boats, I never left. But that coaching and teaching part fell right hand in hand with what was going on the river. So I still got to coach, I still got to teach. And so I've had a great career. I love what I do, and I love teaching people and seeing them grow as people. And nothing makes me more prouder than people that I've had come in contact with over the years, that I've helped get to where they wanted to go in life, in their careers. And you look on Facebook where they've got kids now, and they've got nice homes, nice cars, and they're putting their kids through college. So I feel like I've had a big part in what they've accomplished, and it makes you feel proud.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a great way to start a career. Very humbling to see how you've impacted a lot of people over the time in your career too, I'm sure. So
yes, definitely.
Story. Thank you for sharing. We do have a question in the chat. I would say that the river industry may be predominantly male dominated, but I see a lot of ladies here on with us. So what do you guys see as an entry-level position for women in the industry? How can girls that are graduating get involved in the river industry? Taylor, you unmuted there. You want to answer that for us?
Yeah. So I think women can do everything that a man can do. So we actually have had this year, we've had 2 females come through our deckhand orientation training. We have 2 more in post-offer process that'll be joining us this year. So that is something that I think is gradually gaining more interest from women. But manual labor isn't for all women or men. So we do offer cook positions that a lot of women predominantly, it is predominantly women in those cook roles. But I'm all for female deckhand. So I think, if that's something you're interested in, definitely apply. And if it's not, like I said, we do have those cook positions if you're wanting to get into something out on the river and not in the office, on the office side of things.
Sure. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. And we are just at our time, but I did want to ask one last question for all of you guys. So feel free for multiple people to pipe up on this. But for any kids that are looking to enter the industry, they're in high school, they're listening today. What are some of the things you think that they can do to be successful in the industry? What are some of the skills they need to be developing?
I say just be willing to listen and learn, because when you start out on the river industry, you start from the ground up. I mean, you learn different terminologies. I mean, you're no longer standing on the left side of the boat anymore. You're on the port side of the boat. So just be willing to embrace the culture, because it's a different bird out there. You're starting from the ground up. So just be open-minded and willing to learn.
Okay. Anybody else like to take
I
that?
always
One thing
tell
I'll
all of
mention
our
is,
employees.
I work.
Go ahead, Chad. Or
Valerie, I think you were going to go. Go ahead.
I always tell all of our new hire employees at our orientations that they're not going to be the first new guy or new girl that they get, and they understand that they don't know anything about towboating, or they don't understand anything about the industry, but just to focus on the things that they do know how to do, being polite, being a decent, pleasant person to live with for 28 days at a time. Those things go the farthest. So don't be nervous, or don't be afraid that you don't know anything about the industry, or today might be the first time you've ever even seen or heard of towboating. Don't let that intimidate you, because you're definitely not the first person that we've ever come in contact with. Some of these guys catch a boat, or girls catch a boat, and they've never even seen one before. They're seeing it for the first time when they step on it. So don't let that intimidate you.
Gotcha. Yeah, thank you for that. Chad, were you going to add to that?
I was just going to mention that the industry itself they're very concentrated on safety and being safe in all the things you do, not only on the boats, but in your personal life as well. So as you're growing and living your daily life, that's something you can concentrate on. How can you be safer out there? No matter what you're doing, what task you may be doing, you can always have that safety awareness, and that will take you a long way in the industry.
Awesome. Thank you. And then we do have one last question in the chat. Looking at diversity and inclusion, that's a really strongly focused on area today. And what are some of the opportunities for people of color in the industry? Do you all have any programs with your companies that you promote, or anything going on?
I can take that one for Ingram. Any opportunity. I mean, seriously, just like Taylor mentioned with women, people of color can hold any position within our company. So we actually have a specific diversity and inclusion team where we talk about issues and how to make everyone feel comfortable at Ingram. And that's something that we have people from all departments that are a part of that team. We do different trainings just to ensure that everyone feels comfortable and feels like they're working in a safe, inclusive environment. But just like Taylor, exact response that she gave about women applies to this as well. So any opportunity is there.
Awesome. Thank you. And one more question. They just keep rolling in. What would an entry-level position be? And this is from the New Orleans metro region. So I know deckhand is one of the entry-level positions, but there were a couple others that were mentioned as well.
A cook would be an entry-level position. A cook can start out there from the bottom up as well.
Okay, great.
If you're talking about just on the boat side of it.
Okay.
We have, this is something that Taylor recruits for. We also have welder positions, and I know that we're not the only company with those type of what we call production roles, but they are manual labor roles, but they're actually just done on land versus on boat. So we have welder roles, even like some maintenance tech positions in the New Orleans, Baton Rouge area that we recruit specifically. And again, Ingram's not the only company that has those roles available, but if you're looking to get in the industry and don't necessarily want to work on a towboat, those are options too, and some of those are entry level.
Great, thank you. Taylor, did you have something to add?
Just piggybacking off Katie, really it would just depend on what company you were looking at in that region. So not extremely familiar with what all companies, have offices and things down there. But like Katie said, with us, we do have the production row, so welders or laborers. And then we do have like a barge maintenance coordinator, a couple different coordinator rows that really you could come in at an entry level and be just fine in those rows.
Great. Thank you. Well, I want to thank all of you guys for participating today and answering the questions for us. I do want to put a little plug in for, we do have a who's hiring list with the Kentucky Chamber. So if you guys have open jobs, you can post them there. Then Erin, you guys also post on your Facebook page. You want to speak on that as well?
Yeah, we have a few different resources to help you guys. On our website, which is riverworksdiscovery.org, we have a careers page, and many of the careers that you heard talked about today are listed there with the description of what a day in the life is like, the average salary range within the industry, the skills or education you need to obtain that position. And then we actually have links to companies who hire for those positions. So many of the ones that you saw represented here today, plus many more. And if you click on those links, it will go directly to their job openings page. We also do a lot of career awareness on our social media, on our Facebook page, Instagram, LinkedIn. Once a month, we have something called Towboat Tuesday, where we pick a term related to the industry and describe it in a way that a layperson can understand. So when you heard Corey say, you're no longer on the left side of the boat, you're on the port. So we describe terms like that, port and starboard. We have You Work the Rivers Wednesday once a month, where once we make this post, we pin it to the top of the page for the month. So if you go there, you'll see it. Our current supporters will reply on that post with their current job openings. So it's another way for you to find out what is available right now, how to contact these companies. And then we do a couple other things throughout the month. We'll get posts from crew members out there that show us their perspective of what they see on the river, beautiful sunrises and sunsets, or sometimes critters that are in the river. We have National Rivers Hall of Fame Friday once a month, where we talk about someone related to the industry and what their contributions have been throughout history. And finally, a new topic we added about a year ago called Mentor Monday, where we have someone speak about their mentor, where they start, how they got to where they are. And it's just another way to show you that you are not alone in this industry. You have help. Some of the panelists said, don't be scared to ask questions. Don't be scared that you don't know when you're entering. You do have help out here. People want to see you succeed.
Awesome. Absolutely. Well, again, thank you all so much for being here. We have been thrilled with the Kentucky Chamber Workforce Center to partner with all the companies and with RiverWorks Discovery, and we truly appreciate you guys answering questions today. So that is the end of our program, and we will see you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you.